I've always been a creative person, an artist. I think just coming from theater background, and I created a YouTube channel for kids called Just Chill for Kids. And it's a mental health channel teaching kids skills to help them cope with everything that's going on in the world right now. For any child in the world, not just foster care and adoption, but it can be for any child. So I have this string. So kids who've been in multiple foster homes, we would put a string across the room. We'd put a house, like how many houses did you travel through? We'd put people on popsicle sticks, and I would have the child share their story and show me their journey. And they could share what they were feeling, what they remember, because in the field of psychotherapy and in the ability to process and move through an experience is what's shareable becomes more bearable. So kids need to retell their story over and over and over and have it heard, felt, received, seen by someone else, tolerated with someone else, so they can tolerate what they've been through and know that someone's with me helping me understand this. And then I created my family tree. I could show you a sample. I think I have one here. And it just shows it's just putting posters together, oak tag, and letting the child draw their whole journey so we can see all the places they've been, all the families they still have a connection to, an attachment with, and be able to retell their story, make sense of their story. And what I do with this story is, again, with my string, I put a string connecting the whole journey, so that helping a child understand, or adolescent, that all of these past experiences are still a part of you. You're not going to get over them. You're not going to forget them. And it's okay to think about them, revisit them, make sense of them. I mean, Darla, I am still in contact with my foster family who raised me for 6.5 years in Long Island, New York. They are still a part of me. And I talked to them 2 weeks ago to make sure they're okay. I mean, they were my family. They grew me up. So I now have children in my private practice who we have reunion with prior foster families because they're grieving the loss of the foster family they lived in. Wow. So there's so many pieces to navigate in this process. So for me, it's a case-by-case basis. I look at the child and I go, okay, what do we need to do here to help this child process their grief and loss, their trauma? There's no cookie cutter approach. Like my interventions are, you have to use your best judgment. You have to look at the whole child's story and then sit back and go, okay, where do I need to start here? Is it safety? I need to start with safety. Do I need to contain these big feelings? So the aggression is just the ability to express their anger without hurting themselves or others, then I need an anger bag. Or I need to teach them how to slow down their nervous system, how to not flip their lid, how to help them understand what's going on in their brain and their bodies. So there's a lot of psychoeducation. And I've been in therapy myself for a long time. And that's okay, because it's helped me become a better therapist. And I'm not ashamed to say that. And I think foster youth and adoptees need to recognize it's okay to go to therapy and get help. That's your strength. So, and it helps you make sense. It gives you a sense of agency. That's a sense of control in your life. You can regain a sense of control. We're not victims anymore of the system. We are adults now. We can do something about it. We can become empowered, and it's possible. And yes, it does take a support system. And that's why I do the support group. So we see there are other people like me, and I can do this. There is support out there. So I think that answered your question. All the interventions I did.
That's amazing. Your interventions really target a lot of the underlying core beliefs that individuals may have, and that's really important. And you were talking about loss and guilt or self-blame and stuff like that. And you know
Yes.
personally, as an adoptee who's recently embarked on the journey to find my biological family, there's a lot of like misunderstandings between you know the family that raised me and that is my family, and then you know the biology component. And I think you talk about like you want to break those stigmas and misconceptions. So in your practice and within your experience, what are some of the the misconceptions that people may have regarding adoption and foster care?
Well, we can start with birth families, families of origin. Okay. There's so many reasons why a mother cannot parent her baby. There's so many reasons: lack of support, financial support, family support, um, being in an environment where the there's not support within the family dynamic. Maybe there's someone who is at risk. There's domestic violence. There are also, it could be a mother who has her own unresolved trauma, grief, and loss, her own unmet needs. Just because a mother becomes a mother doesn't mean she knows how to do it, and doesn't mean she doesn't want her baby. She doesn't know how to parent her baby because she wasn't parented and cared for well enough to know how to nurture and meet her own child's needs. So she doesn't know where to turn and seek help, because a lot of mothers do feel this pressure. I should know how to do this.
Mhm.
And when you become a mother, I'm a mother, I have one son, it's overwhelming. It's something you are not taught. It's something you learn, but you need role models. You need people supporting you. You need people showing you how to make a meal or schedule your day, how to do self-care, how to find daycare, childcare. And if you don't have this support, it will collapse. And mothers can cope in ways that are not healthy, that are maladaptive, that they can turn to drugs and alcohol in order to cope because they don't know any other way. They can rely on partners that aren't supportive, that are abusive. So there's a lot of stigma around birth parents. And I think we need to step back and go, hold on. We need to provide more support that provides support for the mother and child, the mother, father, and child, so that they can be empowered to be good parents. There are organizations, there is one downtown Los Angeles that's fantastic, that provides free childcare and free parenting classes so that parents are empowered to be the mother or father they can be. So that's one stigma that we have to step back and stop judging them as, oh, they're drug dealers or they're drug addicts. Well, the reason why people turn to drugs and alcohol, it's because of unmet mental health needs. So we have to step back and go, yes, this is a maladaptive way of coping, and their dependence formed an addiction, because first we abuse drugs and alcohol, then we depend upon them to cope, and that over dependence is what causes addiction. So if they're not having any intervention or debriefing during that time, well, they're going to end up becoming an addict. But they're not just an addict, there's a whole story we need to understand before that even happened. So we want to know the story. We want to see them as people first, separate from their diseases, and see if we can provide resources, see if they're willing to get the help that they need. Now, some parents, do they all want to be parents? Some find it overwhelming, and that's when they say, I can't parent and I would like my child to be fostered or adopted. So birth parents, we want to reframe our thinking about them. And also, I think foster youth alumni also get a bad rap, that the labeling, that they're hard to place. I hate that. That's just this label like, oh, they're a difficult kid. Well, kids act out because they need attention. And we need more parents, foster and adoptive parents, who are trauma informed. And I just did a training yesterday on trauma informed parenting and support for all parents struggling right now with their children at home, because children are more stressed, a little bit more anxious, and feeling more vulnerable with what's happening in the world. Of course, totally understandable. So it's actually raising their stress levels. So parents need to really be putting into practice their trauma-informed practices. So we need to step back and see children's behavior as a cry for help. We need to still remain connected to those that have loved us, we've formed an attachment to. It's healthy. Yes, we need someone to facilitate that. I've been talking more about, I believe today we need open adoption facilitators that are just facilitating open adoptions. We need reunion facilitators for us adult adoptees, because reunions are happening at a rapid pace because of DNA testing now. People are finding each other like this, and then they don't know how to handle each other's boundaries. It's hard for birth mothers to see their children again. They may not have received the support they needed. So we need someone to be that facilitator, to facilitate a healthy reunion that supports both of them so they can meet and be with each other and form a relationship that respects both each other's lives. And an understanding for birth parents, please. And it just breaks my heart, my own birth father will not have reunion with me. But I always, and this is what I tell people all the time, it's not a rejection of you, it's a reflection of them. He did not receive the therapy, the understanding that I would come back and search for him, that I would want to have a relationship with him. He was told, forget about this when he signed the relinquishment papers. Forget about this. You'll never see her again. Stuff it, just dismiss it. Well, that's what he was told, and that's what he did. So he was never prepared for my return. And I have a full sibling too. We both found him together. And he has so much guilt, and there's no one providing support for him. So surprisingly, you're going to be surprised when I tell you this, but I went back to the foster care organization that I was adopted through in New York City called Jewish Child Care. And I asked them, I told them my whole story. I said, I want my records. I still don't know what happened. My birth father will not have reunion with me. I know he was traumatized. Something happened to him. I want my records. They just called me actually right before COVID-19. They said, we have your records. I'm going to get my records, but I can't go to New York right now. They have my records. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to read this. And I said to them, you know what? I wish that Jewish Child Care today could call my birth father and educate him, provide a support group, because I know he also needs healing. And if someone could just reach out to him, because he has unmet needs in this whole experience. I've been fortunate enough for my parents to recognize my unmet needs, and they put me in therapy when I was 13. No one identified he has trauma, he has grief and loss. We need to provide the support for birth families and help them understand that your child most likely will come back and find you, will search for you, and you do need to be prepared for that. So that's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot to do.
You
Yes.
touched on something so crucial that needs public awareness and attention.
Yes.